Hey everyone, so I finally just finished two 1 hour long plus videos that are going to be featured on some bigger channels within the next day or two. Now I obviously can't post the same video on my own channel and I need your support, so if you'd like a link to them when they come out, I'll be posting it on my Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram, which all have the same username, so make sure you're following all those. Now that I have a bit more free time for my own channel, I'll be uploading more frequently again. What kind of videos would you guys like to see? Leave your comments below and thumbs up comments you agree with, and yes, I'm well aware you guys want more of the Hitman story, and I love doing the deep web ones, but there are only so many to do. Now, let's get to the stories. I'd like to mention that before you go calling this first story fake, it has been verified as real by Reddit mods, which means they've been submitted proof that it's real. That being said, enjoy. Number 1. My mom left my dad when I was 9. I have 3 older sisters. My dad was an abusive alcoholic. He used to beat us all, especially my mom. He would twist hickory switches together and bake them in the oven before beating us with them. My mom finally got the courage to leave him. We stayed in a shelter for a while for abused women and their children. After my mom saved enough money for us to move, we moved into a mobile home. Our first night in our new place, 2 of my sisters and I were watching TV. My mom was in the kitchen and my oldest sister was cleaning out the bathtub. My dad came through the front door and put his finger to his mouth, saying, "Shh." We were very afraid of him, so we didn't say anything. He went into the kitchen and said, "Carrie." My mom turned around and he showed her a gun. She screamed and ran down the hall towards the back door. He told her if she didn't stop screaming, he would kill the kids too. My 2 sisters and I ran out to the front to the neighbor's house. We told them what was happening, and it dawned on us our older sister wasn't there. She got there maybe a minute later. When she heard our dad's voice, she laid down in the tub. My dad shot my mom 5 times, killing her. My oldest sister said he went back up to the hall calling our names, and that's when she jumped up and ran out. I'm 38 now, and he is still in prison. Number 2. When I was a teenager, I was goth. Black hair, black clothes, black makeup, even had a pair of combat boots. My friends and I, in typical goth fashion, hung out at the local cemetery. We started going as a joke, but soon discovered we liked the peace we found there. That all changed one night. My friend called to see if I wanted to hang out, and I did. None of our other friends were available. They were either working or recovering from partying the night before, so we were on our own. My friend picked me up and we drove up to the cemetery. We were hanging out, smoking cigarettes and bullshitting about the latest issues she was having with her boyfriend when we noticed at the top of the hill we were on, about 100 feet away, a bonfire had been lit. You have to understand that this cemetery is about a block off campus of a major university, and it's not uncommon for college students to go there to party. My friend and I sighed, knowing that we would have to get going soon. It was illegal to be in the cemetery after dark, and we knew the police would show up because some jerks had decided they needed a bonfire. We decided to finish our cigarettes and then take off. Just then, the most horrible stench came wafting down the hill from the direction of the bonfire. My friend gagged and covered her mouth. I groaned and said, "What the hell?" My friend shook her head, saying, "I don't know what they're doing, let's just leave." We get in the car and one of us suggested, I honestly don't remember who, maybe we should just go up and see what they're doing. My stomach turned and a cold shiver went through my body. My friend must have felt the same feeling because at the same time we both said, "No, we should leave." My friend turned the car on, switched on her headlights, put the car in reverse, and looked over her shoulder before starting to back up. I was still looking up at the hill. A figure stepped down in front of the bonfire. I could only see a silhouette, but I was sure whoever it was watching us. A feeling of terror hit me and I said, "Go, go, go," getting louder and more panicked with each word. My friend looked back up the hill for a second. Just as the figures took a step towards us, she slammed on the gas and peeled out, going in reverse down the hill. She rammed the gear shift into drive and we were out. We didn't say anything for a while until she said, "What the hell were they burning?" I shook my head. I don't know." She dropped me off at home and I went to bed. The next morning I woke up and went out to the kitchen. My mom was there drinking her morning coffee and I joined her. We talked about her job for a bit when she suddenly comes out with, "Did you hear what happened last night?" I shrug and say no. I had just gotten up. She tells me that a woman she worked with was kidnapped from the parking garage. "Oh my God," I say. "Did they find her?" "Yes, but it was too late," she replies. "Whoever took her had raped and murdered her. They found her this morning up in the cemetery. He had tried to dispose of her body by setting it on fire." I froze. My brain was going a mile a minute, the realization slowly creeping up. That's what that smell was. Needless to say, I never hung out at the cemetery at night again. I think back to our decision to leave instead of investigating the fire. That one decision could have changed everything. Number 3. I was home alone, sitting by my computer watching YouTube when I see a shadow on the wall behind my monitor. I look over my shoulder out the window behind me. The window looks out to our front yard from the office room I was in. I see nothing out of the ordinary. I look back at the wall and the shadow is gone. Seconds later it's back, but only for a moment. It appeared to be a shadow of a head. Being the paranoid teenager I am, I begin to panic. I stood up and walked over to the window. My dog is usually in the front yard waiting for my dad to get back. I couldn't see him. Then I noticed something. The bolt we put on our gate to stop it from opening was lying on the ground. This meant someone was here, or someone is here. I left the office room and crept down the hallway to see if my dog is in the backyard. Before I even leave the hallway, I could see a man looking through the window of our back door. He was wearing jeans and a big hoodie. He doesn't see me as I try to creep back to the office. A loud knock came from the front door. No way the man in the backyard would have been able to get to the front door so fast. It would have to be someone else. More knocks come from the door. Soon, a voice of a middle-aged sounding man comes from the other side. "Hello?" I didn't say anything. "I saw you before." At this point, I'm sweating buckets. I check my pockets for my phone. I don't have it. I peer into the doorway of the office room and it's there on the computer desk. Going in there means that I'd have to be seen by the man outside. I quickly tiptoe into the room and grab my phone. On my way back into the hallway, I see the man's face looking into the room. He looked like a normal guy, but his eyes were shaking left and right, short distances at an extremely fast pace. He also had his mouth wide open and a smile with his tongue hanging out. Pure primal terror rushed through my body when I saw that face. I scream, "I'm calling the cops," and I begin to dial. I hear loud, fast-paced footsteps from the driveway. The cops came later and no one was around. They dusted for fingerprints and the results were unsatisfying. The police said they were wearing gloves. I gave them the description of the men and they left. I am now posting what happened on Reddit while my dad is calling family to tell them what happened. My dog is missing. Update. It's dark now. A lot of family members are visiting at the moment. Up until the family arrived, I've been looking for my dog with my dad around the area I live in. We haven't found him yet. I'll go looking again tomorrow morning. I really hope they didn't take him. I'll keep updating. Update. July 8th, 2015. I got a phone call this morning from an elderly woman who lived down the road. My dog wandered into her front yard this morning and she called my number on his collar. She lived down the road. I picked up my dog and he's home now. Thank you for caring. I'm going to try my best to stay inside from now on until the guys are found. I don't feel comfortable walking around alone. I'll update if we hear any news from the police. Update. July 9th, 2015. Early this morning I got a phone call around 1:30 a.m. from an unknown number. I was in bed asleep when I heard my phone vibrate on the wooden bench beside my bed. I don't know how long it had been ringing for, but by the time I got the strength to roll over and grab my phone, the call ended. I looked at the number to see if I could recognize it myself. Then it started ringing again. I answered the phone. "Hello?" I whispered. There was no reply, but I was able to hear breathing. "Hello? How's your dog?" The person on the other end finally replied. The call then ended there. I tried calling back, but they wouldn't answer. I don't hand out my phone number to anyone I don't know. The only way they would be able to get my number without me giving it to them myself was by looking by the dog's collar. Number 4. This is something that happened to me about 2 years ago, but thinking about it still gives me the chills. I used to live in a small town in rural Missouri with my mother and stepfather. Our house was a few miles outside of town and along an old state highway. We were pretty isolated out there, other than the occasional passing car or farm equipment. One day, I came home from a morning shift at work. I was pretty tired, so I immediately came in the front door and sprawled out on the couch. My mother and stepfather were preparing to go into town to visit a family friend, so I just started watching a movie and quickly drifted off to sleep. I remember waking up to the sound of my parents leaving. After that, I slept rather soundly. I must have been asleep for a couple hours before I was woken up to the sound of the front door opening and closing. I laid silently, hoping to fall back asleep. I assumed it was just my parents returning from their visit. After a moment of silence, I heard an unfamiliar voice say, "Where is everybody?" My eyes shot open and I looked up to see a man standing over me. I had never seen this man before. He was tall and muscular. He was wearing a white t-shirt and cut-off sleeves. He was also covered head to toe in blood. I jumped to my feet instantly. I had never been so scared in my life. Trying to rationalize, I asked, "Are you looking for my parents?" He stared at me for a moment and asked who I was. I replied by asking, "Who are you, and what the fuck are you doing in my house?" He stared at me blankly. I thought I was going to be murdered. He kept talking incoherently and asking where everyone was. At this point, I had no idea who he was referring to. After about 5 minutes of nearly crippling fear, I realized that the blood that was all over his clothes and face was his own. I glanced out the living room window toward the highway, and then I started to understand. In the drainage ditch in front of my house was a red pickup truck. I told the man to come with me and we went outside. Soon after we got near the truck, another vehicle pulled up. Apparently the man had been drunk driving and had driven his truck into the ditch. He was drunk and had a concussion from the wreck. He was so messed up that he thought that he had other people in the truck with him before the wreck, when in fact he had been alone. He had stumbled into the nearest house looking for help. The driver that had just pulled up drove the man to the hospital, and as far as I know, he was okay. Though I understand the situation now, I will never forget this. It was fucking terrifying.